What's really going on inside McLaren? And why could the FIA be looking very closely at what happened at the Chinese Grand Prix? Because what we saw in Shanghai was something extremely rare even by the standards of modern Formula One. Two competitive cars, prepared to fight for the podium, disappeared before the race even started. Lando Norris couldn't even get out of the garage, while Oscar Piastri arrived at the grid only to discover that his car was also unable to compete. In a matter of minutes, the team that had been dominating the championship was completely out of the Grand Prix. But what is truly disturbing is not just the double abandonment. What is causing concern within the paddock is how it happened. Two different electrical failures, in the same critical system of the car and at the same time. A scenario so unlikely that it has raised uncomfortable questions within Formula One. Was it simply an impossible coincidence? Or is there something more behind what happened with the McLarens in China? Because when a team that was fighting for the championship suffers such a sudden technical collapse, suspicions quickly arise. And right now in the paddock, many are asking the same question. Is McLaren facing a much bigger problem than the team wants to admit? The Chinese Grand Prix was to be another firm step for McLaren in a season where the British team had arrived with the clear ambition of staying at the top of Formula One. After its enormous competitive growth and the Constructors' title recently won, the Woking team entered 2025 with the pressure to prove that its success had not been a coincidence. The new car represented an aggressive evolution of its predecessor, with changes in practically all areas of the car, from the suspension to the most sensitive aerodynamic elements, in an attempt to maintain the advantage over rivals such as Ferrari, Red Bull, or Mercedes. The weekend in Shanghai seemed to confirm those expectations. McLaren was competitive from the first sessions of the event, staying within the front group and showing that the car's pace was present. They were not the fastest in all conditions, but they were strong enough to stay in the direct fight for the top positions. The sprint race offered an example of this. Norris managed to finish within the front positions and Piastri also managed to stay competitive, a result that reinforced the feeling that the team was prepared to score a significant amount of points in the main race. The classification finished consolidating that impression. Both McLarens managed to place themselves on the third row of the grid, a strategic position that kept them very close to the leaders and with clear options to attack during the race. On a circuit like Shanghai, where tire degradation and strategic management often play a fundamental role, starting from those positions could be the perfect starting point to aspire to the podium. The atmosphere inside the garage was one of concentration, but also optimism. All the work put in over the weekend seemed aimed at a solid result. However, in Formula One, moments of calm can transform into chaos in a matter of seconds. When Sunday arrived and pre-race procedures began, the team was faced with a situation that no one within McLaren had anticipated. During the final checks in the garage, Lando Norris' car had an electrical problem on the power unit side. At first it seemed like a minor fault, something that engineers could quickly diagnose and fix before the race began. But as the reviews progressed, concern within the team began to grow. Engineers worked together with the engine supplier trying to find a solution, reviewing electrical systems, connections, and critical components of the power unit. Time was against us and every minute brought closer the moment when the cars had to head towards the grid. Finally came the confirmation that no one wanted to hear. The problem could not be repaired in time. Norris could not start the Grand Prix. For the British driver it was a huge blow, not only because he lost a valuable opportunity to score points in the championship, but also because it was an extremely rare situation in his career in Formula One. What happened in Shanghai soon became one of the most talked about topics in the paddock. When a team is abandoned due to a mechanical failure, the explanation is usually relatively clear. An engine problem, a hydraulic failure, or even human error during car preparation. But McLaren's case was different. Here it was not a single car, nor a simple breakdown. Two cars were left out before the start, both due to electrical failures related to the power unit, and also with different diagnoses from each other. That unlikely coincidence was what began to raise suspicions. Within the team, the first reaction was to analyze whether there was any common element between the two cars that could have caused the breakdown. In modern Formula One, the car's electrical systems are extremely complex. The power unit not only includes the combustion engine, but also hybrid systems, control electronics, energy storage, and electrical generators that work together to maximize performance. A failure in any of these elements can affect the entire car. But what baffled McLaren engineers was that the problems detected in the Norris and Piastri cars did not appear to come from exactly the same component. That immediately led to a second line of analysis: the relationship between the MCL-39 chassis and the Mercedes-supplied power unit. McLaren uses Mercedes HPP engines, one of the most reliable packages on the grid in recent years. In fact, the reliability of these engines has historically been one of their greatest strengths. Precisely for this reason, the double electrical failure was even more strange. It was not a common problem at this supplier, much less something that affected several cars at the same time within the same team. In parallel, the paddock began to remember something important about the McLaren car. The MCL39 had been conceived as a very aggressive evolution of the previous single-seater. Engineers made changes to virtually all of the car's key systems to further enhance its performance. From the front spoiler to the rear structure, through adjustments to the suspension and the integration of the car's internal systems, everything had been optimized to gain performance. Such an ambitious development philosophy has allowed the team to remain competitive, but it also means that safety margins are often kept to a minimum. When a team pushes the technical limits of its car so much, any small detail can become a major problem. Different wiring, an unexpected temperature in the electrical system, or an unexpected vibration can generate failures that would not normally appear in more conservative configurations. That is one of the reasons why engineers began to review with extreme care the integration of all the car's systems. They were not just looking to repair the damage. They needed to understand why something like this had happened at the most critical moment of the weekend. Meanwhile, the pilots were also trying to understand what happened. For Norris, the feeling was one of disbelief. After completing all the work for the weekend, being left out before departure was an extremely frustrating situation. For Piastri, the blow was equally hard, especially because his car had reached the grid before the problem appeared. From the pilot's perspective, the most difficult thing in these cases is not having control over what happens. In modern Formula One, drivers can influence strategy, tire management, or even certain car settings, but when a critical electrical fault appears, there is simply nothing they can do. Within the team, Andrea Stella tried to convey calm. The McLaren boss made it clear that the absolute priority was to investigate the origin of the failures and prevent a similar situation from happening again. He also recognized the impact that this type of incident has on the entire team structure, from the engineers to the technical partners involved in the development of the car. A Grand Prix is not just a race, it is the result of weeks of preparation and collective work. Losing that opportunity without even competing is one of the most painful scenarios for any team. But outside the McLaren garage, the conversation was beginning to take another direction. In Formula One, every major technical incident inevitably raises deeper questions. When a team that is fighting for the championship suffers such an unusual problem, the rest of the field pays close attention. Engineers from other teams observe, analyze, and try to understand if what happened can reveal something about the performance of the rival car. And in this case, what began to circulate in the paddock was a disturbing theory. Some began to wonder if these electrical failures could be related to the way McLaren was exploiting the limits of its technical design. These were not direct accusations, but a suspicion that was beginning to appear behind the scenes. Because in Formula One, when a car is extremely fast and at the same time unexpected failures appear, the same question always arises: is the team pushing the limits of engineering too far? That was the real problem McLaren had to face after China. They didn't just need to fix their cars. They also had to demonstrate that their technical project was still solid. Because if something like this happened again in the following races on the calendar, the blow to his championship aspirations could be much more serious. And in a championship as competitive as the current one, losing points due to reliability problems can be the difference between fighting for the. Internal investigations began immediately after the incident, with the aim of understanding how two different electrical faults could appear at the same time in the two cars. In a sport where every component is designed, tested, and controlled with absolute precision, these types of situations are extremely rare. And that is precisely why technical analysis within McLaren became so crucial. The team needed quick answers to prevent something similar from happening again in the future. However, beyond the technical problem itself, what happened in Shanghai also left an important lesson. Formula One is a sport where even the most solid projects can face unexpected moments. McLaren had built an extremely competitive and technically ambitious car, seeking to stay at the top of the championship against increasingly stronger rivals. But when the limits of engineering are pushed, the margin for error is reduced to a minimum and any failure can appear at the least expected moment. Now the team faces a key challenge for the rest of the season. They must not only recover the points lost in China, but also demonstrate that their technical project is still solid enough to sustain the fight for the championship. Because in such a competitive championship, reliability can be as important as speed. A fast car that does not finish races can hardly aspire to win titles. The next race will, in many ways, be a crucial test for McLaren. If the team manages to come back strong and demonstrate that what happened was simply an isolated incident, the China episode will remain as an anecdote in a long and demanding season. But if the problems reappear, then the questions within the paddock will start to become much more serious. And this is where the big unknown left by this chapter of the championship remains. Was McLaren's double DNF in China simply an extremely unfortunate coincidence? Or was it the first sign of a problem that could seriously complicate its title fight? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.